Hello and welcome to the RWBY podcast. You expect me to have something to say? Because I don't. Why do I always have to be the one to kick us off and start off this podcast? Why do I always have to come up with a David Letterman inspired introduction about myself? I'm Mediocrity 4.
That was the best intro ever. I cannot top that. This was the best episode. This is my favorite episode of RWBY. Not because of how great it was executed. It did everything that I wanted for the past several volumes. Not because of any of that. But because somebody, finally, after all these years, told Blake to shut up. I'm Dude.
And I am finally back after getting my computer finally fixed and my volume figured out. I'm Robert. Good to be back. And yeah, I definitely picked a good episode to come back on. So yeah, holy shit.
I'm Coop, and I just hate lesbians.
So you've never related more to RWBY before. So this episode was a lot to take in. I actually just rewatched it because there was something that happened, towards the end of this episode that inspired me to rewatch the rest of the episodes that led up to this, and take some notes. And yeah, that everyone is going to be talking about the breakdown, and everyone has been. Everyone is talking about RWBY's breakdown, Jaune's breakdown, RWBY leaving, and making memes of it. Very, very funny memes about how RWBY is homophobic and stuff. But Robert, before we get started, it's been a while, so any brief thoughts? I know you've been keeping up with us, but anything you would like to tell the viewers about the prior handful of episodes?
I mean, I've just been really liking so much of what they've been doing with Jaune. I'm sure people are very aware by now that Jaune's been my favorite character for a very long time, but the last few episodes have basically just been about running, how much he's been run through the ringer basically over, basically ever since he arrived in the Ever After. It's just been this constant just this constant roller coaster kind of, just a one torment after another, kind of, after just everything that's gone wrong in pretty much ever since he got back from, or pretty much ever since he got to Beacon. Basically, it's all just been leading up to him basically ultimately finding out that that he was essentially a fraud, even before he was born, finding out that he was this, what he thought was this great fairy tale hero, only to find out that he was a total fake, which, had to feel almost like an almost book ending, to his career. Like, he started off as a fake and then ended as a fake. And it makes me really kind of appreciate what we get in this episode, where he's definitely broken, and he's basically just snapped here, and you can, it's horrible, but it's the last thing you wanted for his character, but at the same time you can kind of see how it all would have led to this, that after all those times failing to protect people that he was supposed to help, after all this time of trying to be this hero, when he gets what his broken mind perceives as the ultimate opportunity to finally do something right, to finally protect someone, that he kind of latches onto it obsessively and just ends up, basically ends up holding an entire village hostage, essentially trying to, be the hero that he always wanted to be. And something I was actually thinking about this morning is, yeah, sorry if I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but like I said, it's all been solidly leading up to this with the fact that Jean suddenly finds himself with more people basically asking him to just let them die, which has to be like he should have had years to kind of get over what happened with Penny, but in this case he's kind of spent the last couple decades or so or whatever, trying to basically get away from that and trying to uh or yeah, kind of trying to essentially make up for that with the or the paper pleasers, essentially trying to keep them from dying. So it's kind of like reliving that choice and trying to undo that choice basically every day for like a couple decades. So it kind of makes sense that it's still something that's sticking with him. And I listened to the to the roundtable thing that Rooster Teeth put out today. Apparently, it's only been like 10 or 20 years, which I think is dumb. I feel like a fairy tale needs more, like a story needs more time than that to be classified as a fairy tale.
It
but
doesn't not necessarily, but I would have preferred had like time stop for Jean at a certain point. But in the words of one of the writers for the show, timelines create plot holes, so whatever, I guess.
Poorly thought out timelines, but yeah.
Yeah.
It also kind of like makes it weird that like the it's like basically a children's, like I could get reading a children's story that was like 100 years old to see how it was, but like going back and read one from like 20 years ago is kind of weird for character this age.
Yeah, because Jean's like supposed to be 19 or something, so yeah.
Yeah, so like basically this book would have been fairly new when Jean and the rest of the cast were little kids. That is that's like Harry Potter or Percy Jackson for us.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
I don't
know
consider...
what I said. They completely consider this to be the Harry Potter or Percy Jackson of their own universe. This has like 30-year-old fans getting angry at each other on whatever the equivalent of Twitter in Remnant is.
Kind of, yeah. But
nobody
calls Harry Potter a fairy tale. But yeah.
Trying to cancel Alex and or Lewis for homophobia. But no.
Sorry, I didn't know how much you guys, or yeah.
We just wanted
how much you guys
recap
traced over last week, or how much of the stuff that I talked about on Discord, but yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about just how disturbing it is that Jean has kept this village hostage this entire time, and how they basically did what Marvel did with Scarlet Witch, but actually did it better?
I was going to get there. So I have notes on this episode, which I don't always do because I usually just remember all the things I want to talk about and then just rattle them off.
With John playing the White Rabbit, which actually makes Juniper kind of perfect. Actually, I didn't realize until then that that's what Juniper's.
Yeah,
the deal with Juniper.
I mean, I think one of us made a reference to that when he was first revealed 2 episodes ago. I can't remember who it was though. And I know I pointed out that because I'm the only one who watched Ice Queendom out of the 4 of us that were on that podcast.
I watched
that. Yeah, I know you did, but you weren't there to talk about it with me.
Sorry.
But that rabbits are, important symbolism for Jean. We saw, back in Volume 4 with the Pumpkin Pete rabbit sweater.
That's true. Yeah, that dumb joke actually turned out to kind of mean something. Nice.
And even in Volume 1, his pajamas have like little rabbit decals on them. And here,
not those pumpkin pea pajamas, but
he starts off this episode. The town is completely made out of paper, and like I said, I have notes. Half the notes are just saying it's fucked over and over again because everything about this situation, everything about this episode is just insane.
I know you said at the beginning that everybody's been talking about Ruby's breakdown and Jaune's breakdown, but here's the thing: the best thing about this episode is yes, the breakdown those were done well. That scene was done very, very well. But that scene doesn't work if you don't have everything else that they did in this episode. The other stuff they did leading up to RWBY. Yes, I know. Other volumes have been shit. I know that they could have set all of this up better long term. But again, let's be positive and at least say this volume has set up RWBY's breakdown very well.
Yeah.
And everything set up Jaune very well. And the best thing about this episode are how fucking disturbing everything that's happening throughout this episode is before RWBY and Jaune even have their breakdown. That was not Jaune's breakdown. Jaune broke down decades ago, clearly, right? Yeah. And I like very obvious and apparent. I'm watching shit happen and this is okay. Jaune's not totally crazy. And then at one point it's okay, no, he's totally crazy. How do we fix it?
Yeah. So the whole town is made out of paper, and when their day starts, it catches on fire, which startles Jaune awake because he is usually up before then. And they're all sleeping in full combat attire, including Jaune with his armor, which is just... I get it.
That is not good.
I get it. I know it's because the clothes are part of the character models, and they would have to create whole different character models for their pajamas if they were going to do that. And Team RWBY, they didn't exactly pack pajamas, but it's still just a little bit of a pet peeve of mine when Jaune in particular is sleeping in his armor. But it's not.
Actually,
it doesn't last long.
Not good for his back.
Yeah, but you know what? It fucking works. It works here because Jaune is unhinged. He's not right. So even stupid stuff like that, it becomes, instead of being a distraction from the narrative, it just ends up becoming a feature of the narrative, which I always appreciate. That's something that I always try to give writers prop for, when even if it's completely accidental, it's accidental genius. It's still genius. And RWBY doesn't look like she slept at all. Jaune nearly stomps on Weiss's face as he's running out the door and doing the whole White Rabbit. I'm late for a very important date. No time to say hello, goodbye. I'm late. And then we get introduced
so many times.
And then we get introduced to Alice in Wonderland is one of my all-time favorite Disney movies. But then we get introduced to the Paper Pleasers, which made me laugh at first. That's a good pun, Paper Pleasers, and because they're made out of paper and they live to serve other people. The Dragon Ball Z.
It's a good build.
The Dragon Ball Z abridged version of episode of Bardock, where all the Proto Saiyans were named after rappers like Tupac and Biggie. That's what it reminded me of.
Frog. Yeah. I brought you more food that you detest.
Yay!
I am now carrying your child.
So, their purpose in this increasingly fucked up world that is the Ever After is to beautify the land. But beauty is delicate like paper, and fleeting also like paper, and so is life, which is why they want to die.
Yeah. I appreciate that it does kind of gradually build to becoming more and more disturbing, where it's they're kind of sweet and kind of cute, and look, Jaune just caught one and he just called it Ren. Well, okay, that's a little weird. And then, that one introduced itself as Ruby. Okay, it's getting a little weirder. And then
Oh,
John
Yang's
whips out his
reaction is
list.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah, no. And then John whips out his list, and and I love the freeze frame of looking at that, and it's slowly, and because if you pause that, you slowly get it, and then the purple one, who I'm just gonna assume is named Blake,
Yeah.
basically explains everything. You're just like, oh no, oh,
Yeah.
oh, this is fucked.
Yeah, they're the ones who cause all the trouble every single day for Jean because they want to
Yeah.
die, because they want to be reincarnated or reborn as something different
Hopefully
and new.
sturdier.
And Jean is not okay. He has projected his own failings on these paper people, and it's like, I can actually
his
save them.
frustrations with the
I
cat.
I can actually be the hero for once. I can save all these people. They don't have to die, and I'm gonna protect them because it's the only thing that makes me feel good about myself. And it's just so fucked.
Yeah.
It's
But
disturbing,
again,
but because you can kind of sympathize with him a little bit. Like you get it.
yeah.
At least I got it. You know what I mean? Like obviously he's wrong. Obviously it's really fucked up, but I think they actually did a really good job of, especially like who they chose, like the paper pleasers being kind of comical. It actually helps because they make it serious enough, especially when that one explains to the girls like what's going on. It's still serious enough, but they're comical and silly enough that it doesn't cause you to hate Jean, which I think is important. You don't want that to happen. So I actually think they got
Yeah.
the balance really,
I mean,
really spot on there.
yeah. And it's clear that the paper pleasers, I don't know, they're just too nice to really hate him and be angry at him, and so kind of. So yeah, like yeah, and you understand why again you're fully aware that Jean's not okay and that what he's doing is wrong, but at the same time you understand why why he's in this situation and why his mind is telling him that this is okay, even though it's definitely not.
I mean, I had a
That's
completely different impression of it. I
yeah,
like uh like like John kind of says himself, like the the paper guys or whatever, they neither they nor Ruby know that anybody who dies in this place actually does get resurrected. Like,
Hmm.
so, you know,
So maybe he's not
it's,
willing to have the faith that they seem to, and he doesn't really. I don't know. He's not really willing to try. And I guess, and you're right. We as the audience don't really know. We're kind of taking the cat's word for it at this point, and I don't know. But at the same, and we're
like,
kind of trusting the faith of the cat and the faith of the people pleasers. You're that, or the paper pleasers. I keep getting that wrong, I swear. But that we're kind of taking their word for it. That's true. Yeah.
like we've basically got from for all we know, like the cat is like probably the height of trustworthiness among all of the stuff, and the paper pleasers probably got word about it from him at best.
Yeah. We've got I mean, we do have their word on the Red King becoming the Red Prince. We've got that much, but we do, but I don't know. But yeah, we don't necessarily. We have yet to see physical proof, which is something I kind of hope we do get to see in future episodes. I think that would, I don't know, might be a
Yeah,
little hard for Jean to if he sees the, I don't know, reincarnated paper pleasers. I'm just gonna call them paper people, and realizes that he was wrong, but also might also be good for him to realize that it was okay for him to, I don't know, not be perfect this time around, I guess. But
well, I'm wondering if they wouldn't use it as an opportunity to like give like a little. I think it would be better if it was John is not entirely wrong about it. I feel like that would be kind of better because I don't really want this place to just be a completely uh, you know perfectly fine in how it works itself. Like I don't know. Like I would like it
You
if
feel like
this
it's a little
world
too much of a fairy tale? Kind of.
sort of like I mean I don't. It seems like they've put the stuff in place to where they could have it be like there's actually something kind of deeply wrong about it, but they just don't really. I don't. If they don't use it, then I'm gonna just be like, like it kind of like a really easily missed opportunity there. Like if it, I suppose at most they could do is like have some sort of revelation about Alex or something, but that's not really a revelation about her per se anymore. Like or this place anymore. It would be more of a revelation about just her specifically. Or so I don't know. There's like
I see. No, I see what you're saying. That it feels like, oh yeah, like this world's a little too cut and dry, kind of, in its in its apparent like kind of perfection and stuff like that, and it feels like there should be some sort of mystery underneath or some sort of underlying darkness, kind of.
I feel like that would be the best thing to have with it.
Mm, yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm not sure that. I mean, we got 3 episodes left here, and I'm not sure that they would have enough time to go into that, but maybe.
I also don't know, which is what I'm somewhat kind of
Yeah,
like thinking it's not. They probably won't, which would be a
yeah,
little bit annoying.
yeah.
But like, if everything, I guess if they want to not really focus on this place so much and give better due attention to the actual to the main characters, that's also fine in its own way.
Yeah. It does
I don't
seem
know,
kind of like they've just kind of thrown the characters into like a magical
into a
fairy
different.
tale world where anything can happen, just kind of to like, I don't know, have fun, like just so they can kind of have the characters, yeah,
Which
basically just so that they can have the world kind of facilitate the character development in a way which is, it's I don't know, it's okay, but but it's not
they could have
necessarily ideal. It's a lot more fun when to see the characters and like the world kind of develop together equally. I agree with that. Yeah.
they could have if all they were trying to get out of this volume was character uh stuff, they could have done that back on Remnant. They didn't need an entirely new setting to come in, really.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that's been hanging over this volume since it was first announced that this was going to be the volume. Which is, yes, it is kind of nice that this volume has been so good. It is funny that it is this good primarily because of how divorced it is from everything else that was going on before now. But at the same time, it's like, was that necessary? Was it necessary to go down this road? Was it necessary to have Blake and Yang get together through a punderstorm? Like, what was the obfuscation between metaphor and just subtext and actual just regular text necessary for these developments? Probably not, but this is, kind of gotta take what we get.
Yeah, it's impressive for like Rooster Teeth's writing that they're able to use this world to kind of facilitate, character development and plot development, because that is, a useful writing tool. Be like having the world around your characters kind of imitate, the character's own personal arc, and having, the plot happen simultaneously with and having, the character development happen simultaneously with the plot. Like, ideally, those are things that you're able to combine together and do well. And this volume has done a good job of it, but yeah, they've largely been able to do it because by throwing their characters into a world where there are no rules. So it's all like, okay, great. Now let's see you do it with a world where there are rules, basically. So yeah, so that's a bit of a bummer, but no, but yeah, whatever Jean's like.
Well,
Go ahead.
You go ahead, because I was going to change
yeah,
gears a little bit.
I'll further devil's advocate for it here. Like, outside of the aging thing, could we not have had Jean have a mental break? I mean, Ruby had one in a far lower period of time. Could we not have had it so that they wound up in the desert that they were going to wind up in anyway, and had to
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
go through that in a similar way?
Yeah, you would definitely have
Like,
to
could we?
change. You would definitely have to change a lot of the details for a couple of reasons that I'll bring up when we get to that breakdown.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
but
it
I mean,
depends on what role the Ever After plays in, like, the larger story, if it does play a larger role, which I can think of ways in which it could end up playing a larger role in things. And, like, because they've been hinting at the idea of that there are worlds outside of
I
Remnant,
don't.
like with
Here's
the vaults and stuff like that, but
here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't think that matters that much in terms of what Coop is saying. I think Coop's point, and Coop, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The point is that this setting is still a problem and is still unnecessary. Is that correct? Because if that's the case, I agree with you. That's
Well, I wouldn't say a problem. I'm saying that they probably could have done everything that they did here elsewhere,
yes,
pretty
I agree,
much.
and
Yeah,
and
and I do
I
too.
still agree with that. I mean, if you remember from I've changed my tune on quite a few things about this volume, which I'm happy to admit because I'm enjoying the fuck out of it. But I have not changed my opinion that I still don't love the setting, and I think they're using it better and better because the paper pleasers is one of the better uses of the setting. But again, they're not necessary to do the things they did, or they could have done something similar with another village in Remnant. Again, could have done all of that. Um, Arguably could have been even better, maybe. So yeah, my complaints about the setting still exist. They're not as strong because they're doing a good job with it, but I do think the setting is not the best. It's not the most creative. But again, if the setting allows them to do these great character developments and great character moments and all of that, then I'll take it because that's what they're doing well.
Yeah,
yeah,
like
That,
you're
that's fair.
because and I've been saying this since episode 1 that this does remind me a lot of Ice Queendom, in that yeah, I actually do really like the setting. This setting has completely won me over, especially with this episode. The whole thing with the paper pleasers, like, that's just such a good, fun, creative pun that does not have a clear allegory or stand in other Portal fantasies like this. Like, there's nothing quite like the paper pleasers in any of the Wonderland stuff. But just like Ice Queendom, it's like you don't need that to have the setting. Like, this is a really good volume, and this is a really good setting, and this is a really good story in isolation, and it fits with what has gone on in RWBY, but it is unnecessary. Like, it could be good, it could be great, and I said this in episode 1, like, no matter how good this volume ends up being, there's going to be that feeling that this is kind of filler, or that this doesn't gel with the overarching plot of RWBY. And I don't think I don't think it has to. In fact, I'm liking the fact that we don't really have Salem or Cinder, I say, as this is the only episode we will probably see anything resembling Cinder or Salem in this volume, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it filler precisely anymore, but like,
No,
well,
there's no going back on these developments.
Yeah, no, and the other
Yeah.
thing is, again,
unless
this is
they
a compliment,
which
this is a compliment, but also an insult in that it's it's very telling that so far this is by far the best volume of RWBY. Like it's not even fucking close at this point now. At least so far. Again, not guaranteed, but these last 4 episodes are like they've never
Yeah.
had this.
Yeah,
For
we
the
haven't
episode.
even addressed the fact that this is the first time ever we've had 4 legitimately good episodes in a row in
Yeah,
the
but
series.
okay,
Like this, the first time ever.
yeah, but okay, so not just that. I was making a point with that. The point is, first 4 great episodes in a row, best arc they've had so far, all this great stuff. They're finally giving actual consequences. And I don't just mean consequences like, oh, people die. Like, yeah, we know people have gotten hurt before. They've done that before, but like having emotional and mental consequences and like long lasting consequences for Ruby and for Jaune, they have not had that before. They've always had the feeling like, oh yeah, Jean's kind of a loser, but he'll get better. Everything's gonna be okay. And yeah, Ruby's kind of young. She's inexperienced as a leader, but she's doing her best. Everything's gonna be okay. And you know what? It's fucking not. It's fucking not okay.
It's
I
fucked.
It's fucked. It's not okay. And I don't think they can't just gloss over this. But not only but they were getting all that, which is amazing. We finally have the heroes losing. We finally have them not having a real leader and directly addressing that. Oh my god, it's so amazing. I'm so happy. It's everything I ever wanted this volume. And the reason they have that reason they have all this though is because they don't have fucking Ozpin, they don't have fucking Oscar, and they don't have all these extra fucking extraneous characters. That is huge, and they don't even have the world of Remnant anymore, which is actually kind of a crutch too. So that's kind of telling that they get rid of all of that shit that they've been leaning on this entire. No more Crow, by the way. Also, all these crutches they've been leaning on, and that's what's freed them to the point of making the best volume ever. That is very telling. I know it's kind of an insult to all the other shit, but it really is very telling that that's what they've had to do to get this quality, basically. And I don't think that is connected.
Yeah. So before we get to the action scene and stuff, I wanted to read off Jean's list because there's some stuff in it that is completely unhinged. So disastrous lighting of the whatever we saw that in action. Same thing with the save PP from. God, he abbreviates paper pleasers as PP. Yes, that is appropriate, but also I'm like 12, so. From the residual water, we saw that. Then brunch, patrol the town, check in on individual PP. I'm sure he's very invested in these PPs. Stop the stop the Pebble Tower from toppling. Ouch. Secure the dam. Save Ren from falling into Koi Pond because the Asians fall into Koi Pond, I guess. Watch out for terrible twos. I have no idea what that means, but he has 2 stars and a frowny face on it. Keep away from Shredder. If any traveling salesman trader, I don't have like the frames or written down. I kind of ran out of time before we recorded this, but so I'm having to read it off the episode itself. If any traveling salesman traders come through, check for hazardous goods. If you wouldn't give it to a baby, don't give it to the peepees. I mean, I guess that's good advice. Help with daily construction, beautifying projects so PP don't get injured. Sorry guys, I'm really immature. Lunch, no more fried foods, too much grease. Tea shop fiasco. I guess I don't know what that means either. Stop the second fire. Save PP from the residual water from the second fire. Now some of this gets some of this gets kind of cut off. By the way, he's got it taped. But check in at Sandpaper Knife Shop. Help rake the sand. You'd be surprised how dangerous a rake can be. Keep Oscar away from anything that can be used as a kite string. Stop the goose. All in caps, by the way, on that one. Repair scarecrows in rice fields. If late, fight off giant crows. Make new scarecrows. Parentheses, RWBY will help because she's the leader. That's what she does, right?
I was just thinking that she helps to try and get pecked to death.
And you know, crows like that. The symbolism there is not lost on me. But no, that one really stood out to me when I was going through this because it's like that's exactly what RWBY's problem is that she helps. She's very helpful and warm-hearted and stuff, but people just kind of take that for granted and have been taking that for granted for a while now, and she's reaching her breaking point in this episode. Stop carts from crashing. Stop the coffee maker at the cafe before it explodes. Something paper indoors before daily wind surge. Stop Nora from climbing Pebble Tower during the storm. Trust me, this one ends poorly. Because, you know, lightning rods and stuff. Take the scissors from Neptune. Stop the bandits.
Getting them.
Life finds a way. Stop the third and hopefully final fire. And then this is the other one that really stood out to me as being just fucked. Help Pyrrha with her homework, smiley face. Ooh, that's...
I think the part of that that's fucked is what comes afterwards. Stop the unfolding, you'll know it when you see it. I'm pretty sure that Pyrrha is just like, oh, he seems to really like helping me with this for some reason. I'm gonna distract him. Let's use that to try and distract him from the unfolding, which I envision as like 5 of them grabbing a corner on a 6-1 and pulling. But yeah, no.
Oh no, I was thinking like, oh no, that's so horrible.
Again, probably no malice there, but yeah, no, I imagine that they were just like, oh hey, this is an opportunity, not realizing how horribly manipulative that is.
Yeah, it just it's not healthy, guys. Like if you're ever abandoned on a deserted island or whatever, don't personify the volleyball. Don't have a Wilson. It's not healthy. And Jaune's got a whole town full of them, and even worse, because at least in Castaway, Tom Hanks named it just a random name. Or no, he didn't name it a random name. That was actually the brand of the volleyball. It was Wilson. Sorry, I haven't seen Castaway since I was like 10. Which apparently
Can I just point out though the creepy part of Jaune naming a clearly young aged person after the girl that he kissed is the creepiest fucking part of the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, he named him after everyone, so it's like
I'm just saying.
I wonder. I'm gonna steal someone's joke here. Just know that I am not actually funny. Anytime I say something funny, it's because I usually ripped it off, usually from David Letterman, like I said at the intro. But someone made a joke like, no, don't touch the Weiss one. It's not white on purpose. Or it's not originally white.
Ew.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Yeah. It's all, but this situation opens itself up for those jokes. So gotta pick the low hanging fruit. Kind of like how he kept on snickering every time he wrote down pee-pee.
Yeah. Oh yeah, something. But yeah, no. You get that list, and yeah, you slow it down, and you realize, oh, this sounds really messed up, especially depending on where your imagination goes with the unfolding. Again, drawn quartering. That's my guess. But no, and then yeah, you find out that it's all deliberate. They're all deliberately trying to end their lives and ascend. And again, I feel like that's got to be a pretty nasty reminder of Penny, asking him to help her die and stuff like that. So, yeah, no, definitely not good for his psyche.
Yeah, that's a thing too.
Yeah, let us make this choice, trust us. Yeah, just not processing his trauma in any kind of healthy way for however many years.
But because he has to babysit the paper pleasers, I will no longer be referring to them as PP. I have since matured back into a 29-year-old. So, because he's babysitting the paper pleasers all day, he only has a few hours at night to look for a way out, so he has no leads whatsoever. And he's hoping that, with Team RWBY's help, that with Team RWBY's help, they'll be able to find some other way home.
And I like how RWBY seems to wince every time they bring up going home. That's something else I noticed, is that every time they talk about going home or getting to the tree, she winces. We see her, visibly wince, because that is the last thing that she wants to do right now, is have to go back to Remnant and deal with all the shit over there. She knows that she's going to be thrown right back into her job of trying to lead everything and figure everything out, basically. Yeah, that's what I noticed.
Yeah. So then we already talked about how the paper pleasers want to die, and the purple one, who we assume is Blake because of the color palette, explains that to them. And they start talking about how Jaune is clearly unwell, clearly kind of crazy, and how they need to try to convince him to let this place go and dedicate his time to trying to find a way home, because they don't want to be stuck here like he has been. And
I appreciate that those two things, I don't know, Jaune doesn't seem to, again, because of his poor mental state, Jaune doesn't seem to realize that, if he leaves, he's not going to be able to take care of these people and stuff anymore. But that's because he's not really thinking clearly. He's focused on those, he's just obsessing over those two things, even though they're completely, at cross purposes, basically.
Yeah, but it's because here he's he could actually be the hero, and he it kind of goes back to, I can't remember if it was this episode or last episode, where he's I couldn't even be the make-believe hero. I think it was last episode, because I think he was talking about Alex. But here he actually can. It's a make-believe town with make-believe people, where his make-believe real-world friends with their real names can rely on him, and he's no longer the idiot stuck in a tree. He's the rusted knight, the golden hero who saves the day every day nonstop. And they all just dote and rely on him and worship him and love him the way he doesn't love himself. It's fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's...
And then the Jabberwockers attack.
Yep. I also appreciate that it's kind of I don't know. That's kind of that lesson in I do kind of appreciate that it's the Jabberwockers are basically forcing their hands here, because if they eat them, then they definitely don't ascend, essentially, then they're definitely, screwed and stuff like that, and so they have to deal with that, with that situation, and so it's kind of that, that horrible realization, and I feel basically these people from Remnant are just kind of coming in and fucking everything up, because, Neo's just running amok, basically, creating more and more of these things.
Yeah, and Yang says that, this isn't, Neo's normal bag of tricks, which she's right. Before this volume, Neo was not shown to have these sorts of abilities, but I don't know if that's actually going somewhere. I hope it does. I hope they are going to explain, why Neo in particular is so much more powerful now than she was before.
My theory is that, I don't know, I guess my theory until recently was that Jean's semblance had also been amped up, and that was what like kept him a lot, and like it was slowing his aging or something like that over the hundreds of years or something like that. But apparently, it's only been 20 years, which is. But anyway.
Anyone else got anything to say about what happens before the fight scene?
I like that. I'll try to be quick. I like that they do make it obvious that the girls are like aware of how unhinged he is, and like
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to be compassionate. I think it's actually a nice balance. Like they've characterized them pretty well, and I like that. They're trying to be understanding. They don't quite get it, but they're trying to be nice. But they are also clearly aware that no, this is fucked.
Yeah.
So I like that. I think that's well done.
Unfortunately, they missed the other person who's totally fucked in the head right now. But yeah.
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
well, it's yeah. There's not really anything other than, I guess, like fucking. I just kind of point out that the what's its fucks. I can't remember the name of the things. The monsters are just kind of like again, kind of just. They seem like they're just constantly the thing that gets rolled in to kind of push them out to the next place.
kind of moving things along. Yeah.
Yeah, they are very like plotty.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not really scary.
But that does lead us to a pretty decent action sequence, where Ruby hesitates to get her weapon. Like, I think it's Weiss. It's like, get your weapon, Ruby. What are you doing? What are you thinking? No time. But yeah, they come in. Jaune gets on Juniper, Weiss, Yang, and Blake follow him, and then Ruby follows after all of them. And it's a pretty slick fight scene overall. I dug it. It doesn't. The only moment that really stood out to me was when Weiss catches Jaune's sword, then hurls it back at him, and he uses his shield to bounce it through the Jabberwocker. That was slick. But yeah, it doesn't take long before Ruby has a absolute PTSD breakdown.
Just freezes
and starts
up. Yeah.
like, and because Neo's involved, we don't know if like she's actually freaking out or if this is all part of Neo's illusion and she's the one like putting these in Ruby's head, where she sees Cinder back at the vault, then she sees Penny back at Schnee Manor when they had to fight when Penny was being infected by the virus, and then Salem looking just unhinged, and then the rest of the team has to fight the Jabberwocker off of her before it eats her face. And then that's when we get the Neo. We get Neo. Not Neo proper.
Finger guns.
But we do get to see, does the bang.
Yep, the very clear,
Which
I'm
I like
coming for you.
I like it, yeah, because I like it just like, I'm fucking with you.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I feel like Neo might still be getting the hang of her newfound abilities. But then, okay, now we're getting to this scene. Jaune kind of goes off on Ruby about how, like, he doesn't care what she thinks about the Ever Afterins or whatever, but her friends could have used her help and she did nothing. He tries, like, dropping Crescent Rose into her hands and she just freaks out and steps away. And then, so now it's time to kind of get into my soapbox here. Alright? Nobody has ever asked RWBY if she's okay except for Yang. And every time Yang has, in this volume, she has been interrupted and then never circled back to it. She did not choose to be the leader. She was appointed the leadership role by Ozpin. And she took it in stride because she's naturally charismatic and a naturally good tactician by the show's standards. And she's done good in terms of, like, smoothing out the extreme personalities of her teammates to the detriment of the show as a whole. By just, sandblasting all of Weiss and Blake's interesting character traits away until they were just kind of boring. She has cheered for her team. She has supported her team. She has supported her friends. She gave Jaune the pep talk back in Volume 1 about how it's not all about him. He has to put his team first, and she has done nothing except put her team first and put people in general first, even gambling the lives of the entire world. She gambled the world's safety on getting everyone she could from Atlas to safety and evacuating them, going against Ironwood's plan. She has always believed in, like, the sanctity of life and stuff, but starting in Volume 6, that kind of part of her personality started getting called into question, mostly by calling Ozpin into question. If Ozpin is such a fuck-up, then was his appointment of RWBY and Jaune as leaders part of that cavalcade of fuck-ups? That is something that RWBY and Jaune both had to think about. Now, Jaune had a pretty healthy support system with Rin and Nora. The two kind of balanced each other out and balanced him out as well. And as did Pyrrha when she was alive, as did, RWBY and even Oscar to a point. And then later on, like Penny, sorta. Like, Jaune found value for himself, especially after he discovered a semblance and how useful it could be as a support. And that's the kind of leader he is. He's the kind of leader that leads from the back. Ruby's the kind of leader that leads from the front. Very different leadership styles and very different team management styles. Team RWBY's relationship is not as healthy. They do treat each other like sisters. They treat each other like family and stuff. But they, especially Weiss and Blake, kind of just assume that RWBY is doing okay at all times. In the last volume, we had the Hound, which we found out was the Silver-Eyed Warrior, discovering, like, why Salem may or may not want RWBY captured alive. And it frustrated her and scared her, and Yang was the only one there to kind of support her and hear her fears out. So Yang, on top of being her sister and knowing her longer than anyone else, is the most kind of in tune with RWBY's emotion and is the only one who's really able to tell that this stuff is getting to her and that she's starting to doubt herself and that she wanted to be the hero, but now she doesn't know what that means. She has had to compromise. She has caused people to die, and a lot of people blame her for what happened in Atlas. It's not really her fault. Her plan actually did kind of go off without a hitch. The problem with the plan and the whole one-way ticket to Vacua thing, I don't think that actually would have affected much had they been able, because people in Vacua were being attacked by Grimm too. They would have had to have people there anyway. Like, the best case scenario, they swap Jaune out for, like, Nora or something so that they can have a heavier hitter against Cinder, and Jaune can help boost Ren to keep the Grimm at bay. That's the only thing that would have changed had the one-way ticket to Vacua thing not been taken so literally. The only problem with RWBY's plan is that they just do not have someone who could go up against Cinder yet. They just didn't. Penny was their powerhouse, and she got folded like a paper towel and killed. And Jaune had to be the one there to carry that out. And whether RWBY knows that or not, we don't really know. She blacked out when Weiss was explaining it. We don't know if Weiss left any details out. Anytime that it cuts away from exposition, I always just assume that everything that the audience knows or everything that the character would know was relayed to the characters that they were talking to. But then RWBY wasn't conscious at that time, so we don't know if she knows exactly what happened or exactly how Penny died. I don't think that would change much because she knows how screwed up that situation ended up being. And I feel like she knows Jaune well enough to know that there wasn't any kind of like maliciousness in it. You know, it's not his fault, and he's clearly taking it very, very poorly, and so is she. And that's why she has her breakdown where she says, you know, like, why is she the leader? Why does she have to be the one to lift everyone else up? And she chews out Weiss for being impatient throughout this whole volume. You know, no time, right? Gotta get home. Gotta help Jaune. Gotta find someone who isn't just going to screw everything up. Gotta stay positive, right? And then she turns on Blake and Yang with the gotta stay positive note because, again, in last volume, Blake told her that RWBY is what gives her hope, that RWBY is what helps her, is the reason why she is able to stay positive in all these situations now, and that even though RWBY is younger, she looks up to RWBY. Like, she was saying that to help make RWBY feel better, but all it did was add more pressure to her at a time where she was already starting to question herself, because that was in volume 8. That was right before the stuff with the Hound, and that, but after their relationship with Ironwood fell through, and it's just a really just nasty situation, and RWBY needed this. Like, had Team RWBY been, like, healthier, they would have encouraged her to keep going. And they wouldn't have let Jaune snap at her like that. They would have been like, no, let her vent. She needs to let it all out. Don't hold back anymore. We understand you. We understand that we put pressure on you and we're sorry. Like, that's what a healthier relationship would have been. And I said this on Twitter. It's kind of a preview of what I wanted my soapbox to be about. But my all-time favorite crew across all of media is the Straw Hats from One Piece. Part of the reason why they are such a healthy crew dynamic, especially compared to other crew dynamics in One Piece, is because they have both an undying faith in their abilities, but an understanding of all of their weaknesses. Like, Luffy trusts the judgment of his entire crew within their field of expertise. And they trust him to lead the way, to be the emotional core of the crew, and to knock out anyone that none of them can. Because that's what he does as a captain. And he says that all the way back in Arlong Park. He says, I'm not a navigator, I'm not a swordsman, I can't lie, I can't cook, I can't sail by myself, but what I can do is beat your ass. And that's what he does. That's the kind of captain he is. He's also the kind of person that leads from the front. And every Straw Hat has their strengths and weaknesses, and they know each other and trust each other and understand each other so much that they are able to kind of like be on the same wavelength despite their personalities being different. This is not something that can just... This is not a genie that they should put back in the bottle. They should not just undo this and have... Team RWBY really... RWBY and Jaune especially need therapy. Is the end of it. Like, they need to talk this out, and they need to, like, catch a break. Just be like, okay, no, the sun is setting. They need a campfire scene, really. Like, I know we hated it back when Volume 4 did it, but this volume deserves one more than Volume 4 did. And with there only being 3 episodes left, it makes me nervous about how quickly this volume is going to wrap up and how much they might cut out of the next 3 episodes, how many missed opportunities there could be, or even worse, that a lot of the stuff isn't going to be resolved in this volume and we're still going to be in the Ever After in Volume 10.
I don't necessarily
Well,
hate that, though. If it means they do actually address all of this in good time, then that's better than trying to gloss over it.
Well,
I
I hope
think-
they actually address it in the proper way is the only thing. The first off, like if Ruby's and if the entire basis for Ruby's leadership was that sort of stoic resolve that she held up until now, then she should not be a leader anymore. Period. They should kick her to the curb on that end and have somebody else take it up. Same with Jaune, really, if that's the case. Like, you know, you can kind of like comfort her about it or anything, but you really shouldn't have somebody who breaks down like that go back into this position after all that, not without some extremely heavy work on their end to not ever do anything like that again and realize that they can't just that like sympathy though I may have for her, like her expressing that on her followers like that is, you can't really do that. That's just not something that you can do while you're in command. Period.
I mean, I think the writers are thinking of Team RWBY as more of a friendship than a command structure, but you are definitely right from a command standpoint, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But realistically, yeah,
Weiss would
but
make the best
yes,
leader
they
for Team
would.
RWBY, not any of the others. But I don't think I think Coop is right, obviously, but I don't think the writers understand that. Anybody working on this show knows anything about the military or has served or anything, or even firefighters. Like, they don't understand the command structure things, and I don't think they understand that it's not okay for RWBY to do this as a leader. They think it's like it's okay for her to do as a person, but not okay for her to do as a leader.
I think if you've worked a job, though, you can get it. Like if you've had a manager, like you don't even have to have been the manager to know about it. Like
yeah, that's definitely true. If my manager blew up at me like this, I would definitely lose a lot of respect.
Yeah, you're supposed to keep some form of bearing at all times when you're a leader.
Distance.
And like she had Jaune in front of her like that. Jaune is kind of in the same situation. If she needed somebody to vent to, one, she should have been able to hold it in until an appropriate time when she could get like some privacy with him. And two, like she could have had like they could have talked it out rather than shouted it out in such a way. But now that this
definitely.
and as much as they care for her, like they can kind of like feel you can have sympathy for somebody while having lost respect for them too.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know that
or
they're
having
going
your
to,
opinion at least changed of them, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think that Team RWBY, or the Weiss, Blake, and Yang are definitely going to have to step up after this in a big way and try and fill some of the gaps for RWBY here. But I do think that in terms of, but yeah, and I like, I don't know, Weiss might finally get to be the leader she always wanted to be. But yeah.
The point I do agree with you on, Coop, is that RWBY can't be the same kind of leader she was before. If she is going to be a leader still, and she will, because, I mean, the show is not going to change its name for the final season or whatever, she is going to have to completely change her approach from this point on. She needs to... This needs to be a moment of change, and I've said that RWBY is the archetype that RWBY kind of fulfills isn't the kind that really needs to change, but Once you reach this breaking point, that's when you do have to change. Like, this is the equivalent of, like, if Superman just went off on Batman for just something. Like, you don't really come back from that without some serious soul searching and some serious, like, time and effort, and something's got to break, something's got to change.
Well, I would say the best change that she could make from that at that point would then be her realizing, yeah, you got it the roughest. Everybody relies on you. Tough break, girl. That's what it is, and you got to go back to that. That's basically the only thing I would say would be, like.
I mean, that would be acceptable, because again, like, at first she was reluctant to be a leader, and she stepped in because that was just what was expected of her. But you know, she now has a golden opportunity to completely walk away. Like, throughout the last couple volumes, like, she technically could have stepped away anytime after volume 3, because Beacon was no more and whatever, and the team structure was no more. But she kept on going because she believed it was the right thing to do. And yes, it is still, technically speaking, the right thing to do, but does it need to be her? And if it, because the answer is no, it doesn't need to be her in the lead. With great power comes great responsibility, but you don't see Spider-Man leading the Avengers.
I think the writers will still expect her to be in the lead, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what makes it good.
Well,
in my opinion,
by dint of that, she should come to the conclusion of what that leadership requires of her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She needs to learn from this, definitely. Yeah.
That's
and actually choose to be a leader, and have it be like, no, this is my choice. I am going to do this. You guys can rely on me. I can take it, and when I feel stressed out, I will tell you, and we will be able to sort any problems we have going forward in a much more diplomatic fashion. But I am in command still. Like, if she steps up and says something along those lines, that would probably be ideal for the show and for her as a character to really, like, step up and actually come into her own. Not just be the leader because she was appointed by Osprey, but be the leader because she can, and she is more capable than the other, and actually prove it.
I feel like that's one way it could go. I feel like, I don't know, I guess we're kind of getting into predictions here. I feel like another way I could see this kind of volume turning out, because with the way this episode ended, we basically have 3, and I'm assuming that we're going to be out of the Ever After by the end of this volume. And so it feels like there are 3 things that need to be figured out in that time, which are Ruby and Jaune's, or I think more than 3 actually, but, like, we need to resolve Ruby and Jaune's arcs. We need to figure out what really happened to Alex and Lewis. We need to find out, or they need to deal with Neo, and they need to get to the tree. And I feel like there was a 5th one that I was thinking about. But those are the 4 things that it feels like need to happen before this volume can kind of wrap up. Which, fortunately, I think can happen more or less simultaneously. But I think in regards to Ruby's arc, I feel like there are 2 ways it can turn out. Either, at least her arc for this volume, I feel like her long-term arc is probably leading to her, basically coming out of I think her overall arc is leading to her coming out of this more, like, still optimistic, but also more mature. And, like you said, a leader by choice and more willing to do the right thing. But I feel like in terms of how Ruby's arc in this volume can turn out, either she figures that out, or potentially, and I actually don't think she does know about Jaune's part in Penny's death yet, which is, but I could almost see it, this volume ending with Ruby basically going back to the blacksmith and taking either Penny's or Summer's weapon and basically deciding that, you know what, I'm a martyr. That's what I am. I'm going to, and basically basically just going slaughtering Neo, just just brutally, and then basically saying, okay, we're gonna go back to Remnant. We're gonna kill Cinder and Tyrion, and then we're going to unite the world against Salem. And not really explain. And what she doesn't tell them is that she basically plans to die a martyr in a way that makes, or in a way that hopefully that she thinks would inspire Remnant against Salem, basically, so that they can then beat her. And then Volume 10 is them is everyone else realizing that and trying to pull her out of it. But that's my prediction. Yeah. Anyway,
that sounds
Well,
good.
I mean, I could give you a less good prediction in regard, maybe Ruby doesn't come into her own exactly as we've prescribed. Maybe she just sort of cheers up when everybody else says, "Hey, we don't need leadership or hierarchy or any of these natural human inclination things. We can all take an equal amount of the responsibility now so that you don't have to be stressed out anymore." Thereby putting her entire character development on the shoulders of everyone else while simultaneously not really developing that much.
I hope not. But yeah,
That's
no, it seems like
that's my worst prediction, and as far as what could happen. I hope they don't do that.
yeah.
Yeah, me neither. That would be weak.
There needs to be a facilitator. Too many chefs in the kitchen is not a good thing. So.
But anyway, before we start talking about Jaune's part in this argument, once again, I just snicker at the whole oh, so you're gay? You think that makes you special? So happy for you.
I think it's more just.
Oh, good for you.
Makes me think of this one, this joke I heard on Critical Role where it's like, oh, you're gonna be that couple? Oh, you went on vacation? We got a divorce. Just like.
Yeah, well, this is the whole adage of misery loves company, because Blake and Yang have been able to find a new kind of happiness here in Ever After, while Ruby has been nothing but miserable, and Jaune has been nothing but spiraling into insanity, and Weiss has been miserable. But Blake and Yang are happy, and miserable people don't tend to like it when other people are happy. And then they feel guilty over, I don't want... Because that's probably why Ruby hasn't said much about her issues, because she doesn't want to bring their mood down. She wants to be happy for them. Yeah, she doesn't want to rain on their parade, which is just another burden that she has to, get over herself on. And speaking of getting over herself, Jaune goes off on her, which is not the mature thing for him to do, but as we established, he's not exactly stable at this point, and he blames her for the plan getting botched, which again, kind of unfair. Kind of unfair, but it did put him in that position where he did have to execute Penny in order to stop Cinder from getting her power, and he was the only one who could do it, and now he has to live with that forever, no matter where he is. He says that here or back home, that's not going away. And I think Ruby kind of understands that, which is why when Blake tries to do exactly what Ruby would have done in an earlier volume. I'm pretty sure in plenty of other volumes, there's been situations where Ruby's been things might look bad now, but... And as soon as Blake starts piping in with that, Ruby's just, no, shut up. Just don't. And then she flies away with Little. Little is still with her, by the way.
Little's Alex.
So that might actually be paid off next
Yeah, that's what
episode.
I'm hoping. And or and I guess something else that I was yeah. First of all, I don't know, I kind of have a laugh whenever I think that, like, yeah, Jean and Ruby really need therapy, although Jean would probably just end up committed. But but I guess another thing to think about is, like, probably the horrible situation that Weiss is dealing with right now, because first of all, she's also, in a pretty rough place too. Her home was destroyed, and she's dealing with that and dealing with constant reminders of that. And then her best friend just had an emotional breakdown, while Jean is also having an emotional breakdown. And again, I'm assuming that she's still the only one who knows about about what really happened, about the whole story with Penny, which means she's the only one who really knows what he's going through. So she's currently, being torn in these two different directions while dealing with her own shit. So, yeah, not a fun time to be Weiss either. So, I guess that's just something else I was thinking about there. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, the episode ends on a really big downer. Ruby is gone. Everyone's sad and broken and miserable, and Neo is still out there.
Just fucking everything up. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's rough, man. It's fucked.
And yeah, like I said, I'm really curious to see how they cover everything that it seems like they would still need to cover in the next 3 episodes, but I think they could pull it off. It's kind of why I don't think they're gonna do the whole, in regards to what Coop was talking about earlier. It's kind of why I don't think that there's gonna be some dark secret to the Ascension, because I feel like they've got too much to cover already. It's kind of I don't know. I kind of wonder, actually, with, like, having to cover all of this in 10 episodes, how many of their darlings they ended up having to kill. Because I don't know, I feel like I could see a version of this where, like, Team RWBY actually does try to help, protect the paper pleasers for a while before finally realizing that it's not what they want and stuff like that. And they ended up having to cut that down, and I feel like it kind of works, actually. It makes things a lot sharper and a lot clearer, kind of, and helps.
Yeah, brevity is the soul of wit, and the pacing in this volume so far has been pretty good.
Yeah.
Aside from the beginning of the second episode where they just restated the first episode again, that I keep forgetting that happened.
They've done a good job of making us forget.
But are we ready for questions?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Sorry, I've been talking a lot.
All right, Stardust. Yeah, so have I. Stardust Warrior 16 asks, "Will RWBY go off on Neo for being dumb enough to team up with Cinder, and will that be as cathartic as this episode?" The time to talk with Neo ended years ago. She just needs her ass.
And the only thing that would make less sense than Neo picking a fight with RWBY is Neo picking a fight with Cinder, because she has even less reason to be angry at Cinder than she has to be angry at RWBY. So, if Neo was going to blame anyone for Roman's death, it should be Roman himself or herself. It's like, what happened was not Cinder's fault. So get off of that one, people.
Yeah.
I mean,
or the Grimm that ate him.
Yeah.
Like, Roman didn't die because of some machination of Cinder or RWBY's heroism. He died by sheer dumb fucking luck.
Yeah, no. Cinder gave him, like, the safest seat in the house for everything that went down. So, no, it is not Cinder's fault. She has no reason to be angry at Cinder, people. Anyway.
Yeah, that scene is still stupid. I really hate it. The fucking... But I don't think if I were to fly off of the roof of some sort of in the sky aircraft carrier with nothing but an umbrella to use as a parachute, that I would think that the guy I had just been in the middle of fighting with against a girl would have gotten killed by some random happenstance. I think it would have been the girl I was fighting at the time that killed him. And I think that trying to, like, I don't know what exactly the idea is in people's heads that maybe
They
Neo
want
had
Neo to be a good guy because she's cute. So they want her to turn on Cinder. That's the only reason, and it's stupid.
I mean, it's
It's not the same as Emerald. Like Emerald, they were hinting at her switching sides for a very long time, since like volume 2 or 3. That's not the same thing for Neo yet. Neo, I was always in favor of Emerald switching sides, and even though a lot of other people were not, I am not in favor of Neo being redeemed at all. She does not deserve it. It does not make sense.
Yeah.
well, you know what? I think that Neo actually did see the exact circumstance of Roman's death because her heterochromia gave her advanced 120 hawk vision that enabled her to see at 1,000 meters the exact goings on the top of the aircraft carrier from that weird angle. So you know what? I believe she actually does know that Ruby was in no way responsible for anything that occurred, and has no good reason for having a grudge against her. Terrible character development. Really hate to see it. Worst writing ever. 0 out of 10.
Suwatana Tube asked, what was the most cathartic moment of the episode for you? Telling Blake to shut up.
You're
We
making me
haven't
hungry, dude.
some sort of technical difficulties based on macaroni or something, I guess. Like,
I keep cutting out. Sorry.
It's okay.
Did you guys ask me something?
Yeah, I definitely took yours
Did
on
you guys
that
ask
one.
me something?
Oh, no, Suwatana Tube asked, what was the most cathartic moment of the episode for you? And I instantly said Ruby telling Blake to shut up, which is how you started this podcast.
The thing is that I was obviously being sarcastic there because, yes, Blake is the most insufferable character throughout the history of this show. But the reason why I think I talked about this with High Powered in the Discord. The reason why, to me, that was the most important moment of this episode wasn't because it was Blake specifically. I thought that moment was very important because it was the first time that this show has stopped somebody from actually doing like an attempted "it's okay" speech. Like this show will always, it's not necessarily always a bad thing, but the show does a lot of, oh, well, it's okay, we'll get through this, we'll fix it, whatever, and then everything gets better, right? And this volume really needed that to not happen. They really needed things to actually be fucked. And
Yeah.
if they let Blake do the "it's okay" speech, then it would have just been back to the same status quo. And yes, everything Ruby and Jean said was important, but the thing that was really the kicker that really made me happy, that really made this episode stand out, and is my favorite episode they've ever done. It's taken over anything Ren and Nora at this point. This is, I'm not saying it's the best episode, but it is my favorite. Was the fact that Ruby cut her off when she was trying to make everything okay. She's like, no, fuck this. No, it's not okay. Nothing you're going to say is going to make it okay. Fuck off. And that is something the show really needed. Like, no, it's not just going to be okay this time. So that's why I really liked it. It could have been anybody who was going to try to say something. It didn't have to be Blake.
Yeah.
Alright, Crash Bash asked, do you think Ruby will kill Neo, then Cinder? Like, actually kill them?
I think she'll kill Neo.
Man,
I think she'll try to kill Cinder, but if it goes the
I
way
think she eventually will kill Cinder.
If it goes the way I described earlier, I think that she'll kill Neo, then she'll try to kill Cinder, but her silver eyes won't work because she's not really focused on protecting people at the time, and so Cinder will basically kick her ass, and then she'll have to basically come back from that, and then, I mean, my dream scenario is Jaune and Ruby both kill Cinder, because I feel like that would be the most cathartic situation for the two of them.
The Cinder thing is so far out, like that might not even happen at all, period. But it's definitely not happening this volume, and we might not even really see Cinder next volume either. At this current
I don't know that they would. Mind you, this is based off of like previous works with her, but like it seems like a lot of times they kind of do the Disney thing with Ruby, where they don't let her kill the bad guy directly. So I don't really I don't know whether or not that she'll get to kill this volume killing Neo would be like
They'll do the whole
for
Disney villain thing, throwing her off a cliff thing. Yeah.
yeah
I hope
well
not. I think.
no, they can't do that to Neo specifically because she has the umbrella. She just survived the fall. No, you'd
Or the Jabberwockers turn on her and eat her.
I don't know, but I don't know that they would do that this volume because the way they've been doing Ruby differently this volume, that might be that she actually does kill her. But then again, she's also like been actively rejecting her own weapon and stuff, and
Yeah.
being weak on that front. So I don't know. Maybe she kills her by
That's why I
accident or
said I think
something.
she'll take either Penny's weapon or Summer Rose's weapon from the blacksmith and use that.
Maybe. I feel like she's just kind of rejecting weaponry in its entirety and only clings to the Penny's one just because it's there and part of Penny. Like I don't think she's like in the mood for killing anything right now. I don't know how well it would work out if she did it
I thought it
this
was
turn.
just, yeah. I guess I thought it was just like Preston Rose in general. Like, just I don't want to be Ruby Rose anymore. But yeah, I guess maybe they need to clarify that a little bit more. Maybe.
Yeah. So the Z Killer and Adriana Gomez both asked about how are they going to wrap this up with 3 episodes. We kind of already talked about that. GQ Smith and someone else, Rick Sarts, both asked if the Ever After is enhancing or affecting semblances. Looks to be the case with Neo, but Rick Sarts in particular, they both brought up Ruby being able to fly. Ruby's aerial ability has always been wildly inconsistent. Yeah. She has flown before, straight up.
She does it in the very first Red trailer, basically.
Yeah, like she has definitely rocketed skyward on more than one occasion.
But it was my theory that, I don't know, I'm still gonna go ahead and theorize that that's been keeping Jaune younger, maybe, but I don't know.
I'd say that you can't really outside of Neo's deal, you can't really tell with the rest of their semblances because they've been so inconsistent in the past. Like, is this really a power up for Weiss who can summon like 3,000 giant armored things, or was she just not doing that up till then? Like,
yeah. So, T-Boy817 asks, is Jaune now the most tragic character in the Ever After?
He and Ruby are tied.
Pretty much.
Like, it really is rough. Aubrey Harris asked, do you think Ruby will take the blacksmith's offer now?
That's my theory.
Possibly. We don't even know what the blacksmith is or what that was even all about. Aubrey Harris also asked, do you think Alex was the Summer Maiden?
No.
I have no theory about that. Like, I don't think
she had
so.
anything to do with the Maidens.
Yeah, me neither. Imperator Dragon asked, how long do you think it will be until Ruby starts catching bodies? Some would argue that she already has.
Like Ruby herself, what do you mean?
Yeah, killing Neo. It's basically another way of wording like the whole is she gonna kill Neo, because that's really the only one around that she could kill at this point. Thor G1058 asked, why do you think they put a content warning at the start of this episode? Because PTSD is a seriously messed up thing. Like this is dark subject matter, especially
also
with the people pleasers trying to
commit and Jaune holding a bunch of people hostage. Yeah, this episode was fucked.
I didn't really think of it like this, but is Ruby actually pro-assisted suicide? We had Penny before, and fucking
Looks like they might be.
I really hope that
I mean,
Ruby,
it's.
the
I mean, they
show,
keep
does
throwing
not
their.
hold as one of its morals that you, state enforced euthanasia is a good thing. Actually, I really,
No, if anything, it's coming on the side of martyrdom,
Kind
yeah.
of, yeah.
where you have the choice of when to live and when to die. Like,
I mean, I'm kind of
Only to a
hoping
certain
Ruby doesn't
extent.
ultimately decide on that and gets pulled out of that, but
so Julian Henry asked, "Do you think if anyone that doesn't watch Ruby would do you?" Sorry, they worded it weirdly. Do you think anyone that doesn't watch Ruby would believe that Yang and Ruby are sisters based off of Yang's reaction to protect Blake when Ruby lashed out? I don't know if this person has siblings, but it's really dumb to try to play armchair psychologist with stuff like this. It's like if someone isn't watching Ruby and they see the scene out of context, why? Why are they watching this scene? Like, why are they watching this out of context? Like, like, do you want them to just keep repeating that they're sisters in every single dialogue? Just in case, like, someone is watching this out of like that. That
Yeah.
doesn't matter. And
Ruby is lashing out unfairly at this point. She is, she's being mean. She's being cruel.
Like,
and not even in a homophobic way. She's lashing out, in a rude way. So Yang is right to kind of step in and say, "Whoa, hang on, like back it
I
up a
would
little
say
bit."
even in the case where it's like, your let's say your sister has just started dating somebody, and you, even if you were completely right in how you criticize them, usually they'll still be in the kind of first phase of that relationship where they won't allow any criticism at all to come towards the dude. So you're
But
this is
also, there's
probably
tactful
fine.
ways to say, "Hey, you're dating a terrible person."
No,
yeah, and it sounds well. It's not even that. It's the reason why this question bothers me is that it kind of like prescribes that sisters that every sibling pair is exactly the same and act the exact same way around each other, which just isn't true. And also, like, siblings fight a lot in many different ways. Like, I don't understand like why anyone would care. Um, so Cyber King asked, "How would you guys feel about Ruby dying in the Ever After, only to be reborn as Ruby 2.0, for lack of a
I
better
think that would
word?"
be dumb.
That could be happening. No, like I said, we don't really know what the whole blacksmith thing was
maybe they could give
about.
her a cool new
No,
look,
it's on the
you know,
table.
Yeah. I
new
feel like that would feel
hairstyle,
like.
maybe she
I feel
goes
like that
bald
would feel like
head.
too much of a
That would
retcon or a cop out.
that would also feel a lot like Teen Titans when Raven got the white cloak.
Hey, that was some
Um,
The
badass shit
show
for Raven to
or
get.
the
Like,
comic?
oh yeah, the
Okay.
both. It happens in
Okay.
both.
maybe they
Yeah.
give Ruby the fucking white cloak from her dead mom. That would be so fucking cool. Think about it.
Yeah, I'd like her in that. But I also just I like Ruby's design a lot. I like Summer's a little bit more. Like, I think the white cloak is just a way more like baller look, especially on a dead person. Because there's just something eerie about like someone who is actually dead wearing a white cloak. Then last question, Adriana Gomez asked, "Is it just me or has Blake regressed even further as a fighter?" Um,
It kind of seems like this volume is
power levels
trying to
don't matter.
is kind of trying to make the fights feel more. I don't know. Maybe after Volume 7 they were like, oh, we need to actually make these fights look like they're involving actual teamwork. something.
I mean, they look.
Also, Blake has never been the team powerhouse, so I don't really know what this person was expecting.
I'd say the fight looks good. It's just that they're kind of not up against much right now. It doesn't seem like they don't got
Yeah.
like heavy hitter opponent type things that could make it a little bit more
Yeah.
dicey, I guess.
Which is
You know,
kind of a shame. I was kind of hoping for.
Yeah, they're fighting a bunch of illusions at
Yeah.
this point. Still,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
curious to find out what the real Jabberwocker is like. I thought it
that's
was
always
interesting,
been.
actually. Looking at the map, it looks like the Jabberwocker's like area is right outside the village all these years. I wonder if I don't know. I wonder how many times Jean's had to kill that thing,
I don't know.
or if he has ever had to kill it.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. You know.
But that's always been.
No, I'll go ahead and end this off with that little theory that just popped in my mind. So, remember when we first saw the Jabberwocker run into Neo and it was bleeding and stuff, and I was like, "That's dumb. None of Team RWBY hit it with anything that would cause it to bleed. What if it was like Jaune's doing? What if it had a run in with Jaune after it left Team RWBY alone, and then that's why it was bleeding?" Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't think we'll ever find out. I also don't actually care, but that's a theory. So, I'm ready to wrap this up. We've already gone longer than I was originally planning on. I do have to work tonight.
Okay. Yeah.
So
good episode. Really excited
yeah,
for the next two.
I really liked it. It's arguably my favorite episode too. It definitely gave me the most like food for thought, like more than any episode from the past couple volumes. But if you like this video and want to see more,
last episode for me, but no, this was really good. Yeah.
If you like this video and want to see more, like, comment, subscribe. Agents of Night Watch Book 2 coming this summer. Hopefully by the end of this month, I'll have like an actual release date or something. I am almost done with the final proofread that I'm going to do before submitting it. So yeah, keep an eye out on that. Keep an eye out on like Twitter and Substack and other projects I have going for, and join the Discord. And have a good day.
Yeah, see ya.